everyone, this is Tabbatha for Some Odd Girl, and I am coming to you for a movie Monday. And today I thought I would go over some new things that I'm pretty obsessed with, and that is the ZIG Clean Color Real Brush markers. I absolutely love them. They are watercolor, which is kind of new to me. I'm a Copics girl, as we know. So this I've had a lot of fun with. So I thought we would do two things. I'd kind of go over a little bit over the ZIGs themselves, some basic things with them, and then we will color up a kitty, which is, critters are really simple, easy. I thought we would do one of the cats and then one the fish, and then I thought we would go over to Full Friends and go ahead and color up May here, at least get the skin going, because that, I know it can be pretty difficult on when you're using the ZIGs for the first time, but I pretty much have played around with it and I like what I've done. So we will get started on that. So first thing is I have the 36 pack of the ZIG Clean colors. I think 36 works. I don't know if I could go down less, and I don't know if I need more. Need, you know, once definitely, but I don't think I need more. I think what I have is a really good basics of them, and they are not renewable, so once these are done, then I have to buy new ones. I did get a separate one, so I do have 37, and that was a light blue. It is a number 36. I use it on the backgrounds a lot, so I knew I was going to use that one. So this is a little color chart that when I first got them, I just started playing around, and as I was grabbing a marker, just kind of marking them and then blending them out with water to see how they're going to react. And you'll see some interesting things, kind of like with mid-brown. You have to kind of be careful. The pigment kind of goes greenish. Dark brown kind of goes maroon. But those are things that we just kind of take care of. As you've seen, I'm sure you've heard about before, there are different ways to actually blend the ZIGs. And I have a little tester piece that I used on my paper. And this is always good to do with your different papers. I had a really smooth cardstock that's pretty thin. It's only 200 GSM. And I wanted to see how it stood up against the 300 watercolor paper that I'm using, which it's really fine. It's really good, but it doesn't fit in my laser printer very well. So I wanted something smaller that I can print my digis out on, so that way I can watercolor them as well. And to me, I actually really like the smoother one better, because you don't get any of the extra texture. And while sometimes I might want that, for the most part I don't. So first things first, I have two different colors. We can use, going to my charts, we have 80, which is violet, and 81, which is light violet. And you'll see on the tops of my markers, at least I hope you can see, I did a little, this watercolor paper that I punched out with a regular hole punch. And then I colored it with each different color, and then I adhered it with glossy accents. And it just makes it easier when I'm grabbing the markers, because I like to have them with the caps up so that too much of the liquid doesn't go at the bottom, since I do have mine vertical. But that's just the way I'm doing it right now. But if you look on the bottom side, then you actually see the colors. And it's, I would say this bottom is more true to color than this top. But like I said, different ways to blend them. What you want to do with these is always go dark to light. So I have dark, which is the 80, and now I'm coming in with my light. I'm going directly into it. I'm going into light. So then you'll see kind of where they interlap. You'll see that it's a little bit darker. So I go back in a little with my dark and then kind of spread that out. So that gives incredibly rich, vibrant colors. Love it. This is why I wanted them, because they are synthetic brushes, so that you can do that without messing up any of the thing. And if you get on the light one, if you get the dark color, then you just kind of brushed off to the side and then you're good to go. The other way that you can do this is, light one. wants to be used. So we'll take the light color and we'll go there. This is about how far I want as much dark color. And then I take a my water brush and get it nice and wet. And then just kind of blend it out there. And when you go back into it and pull more of the color, you know, it will give a different kind of look to the actual first colors. And see that I'm not like in the middle part of there. So what all I have to do, even while it's wet, I can go back in and I can add more color. And again, another reason why this is the watercolors for me is because it really is forgiving, and then I can drag more out. So quick little introduction on the two basic blending styles. There's definitely more out there, and you can search around YouTube and I'm sure you'll find lots and lots. I watch a lot, so. But today we are going to go on to, I've had my eye on these clever kitties for a while, and I finally got them, and I just got them in the mail, so woohoo! We are going to do basic little sleeping kitty here. Like with all watercolors, you want to use a solvent ink or a hybrid ink. My favorite is Stays On, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. The thing with Stays On, it does dye your ink, your stamp. It does actually leave black on it. And the best way to get rid of that is to use something like I have here. It's a little scrubber, and then it has cleaning solution on it. So I'm going to press you down. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm actually really happy with that. We have lots kind of tutorials that we talked about in Someone Girl on when you're actually doing your stamping, on how to make it easier and how to make it better, and that obviously did not clean. So I just didn't employ them because I'm going to do this really quick. Let's get the fishy done. Fishy. I usually go to critters, that's just my forte. I really love critters, but they're so easy and relaxing. So like if I'm have lost my mojo, or I'm trying a new technique out, especially when it has to do with blending, I go for critters. So that's why I wanted to do this. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and start with a kitty. And I haven't finished writing in each one. I didn't have my micron pen to write it before I did the coloring on there. So now as I'm going back in, I'm trying to fill them in. Some of them were really easy, and each one but some of the other ones aren't. Like mid gray is kind of like a brownish, so I really think this one is it, but I'm not entirely sure, so I haven't marked them, and I'll end up getting a new one. But I'm going to do this kind of a black kitty. And so what I'm looking at is I'm going to look at gray, light gray, and then I want a blue gray. I think that'll be really cute. Kind of a blue tint to that. And then looking at my tops, I can see that gray is going to be darker than the blue gray. So I want to use my gray first. And like pretty much like with any Copic coloring, or any coloring for that matter, you want to think of where the light is coming. So I'm going to imagine it up here in the top right. That's usually where I do. Then we're going to have some nice shadows kind of going on there, some deep shadows going on that we're going to attempt with this. So what I have in hand is I have a paper towel here, and that really is to help with the flow of my water pens. I have two different sizes, one that's for bigger areas and then one for fine details. So I use them both for a lot. I'm just going to prep that real quick. So first, on the cat, we are going to start with just brushes blending, and then if I feel the need to, we might add some water, but we'll try to just keep it brushes. dark, we're going to go in there. And I'm not kind of an exact kind of person when I color in general, so that's one of the reasons why I really like this. This is so forgiving, and it's a lot of fun. And since I only have 36 markers, I can actually easily take them, you know, downstairs on my couch or anything like that. And with a watercolor brush, there's no mess. Big areas that I'm getting. And when you use these, you will see that, especially when you're doing a bigger area, it might seem like the color skips a bit. And all that is just how the synthetic brushes kind of, they splay out instead of keeping together real tight. They splay out a little bit, and all you have to do is just go back over it. Okay, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to use the blue-gray to blend out the gray. Just keeping with the same kind of coloring principles that I use with the Copics, you know, I use the mid-color to bring out the darkest color there. And I'm going to see the most of the mid-color. So we're going to go bigger areas. And it's kind of interesting how the grays kind of play out, because with Copics we're used to, you know, keeping with the cool grays and the warm grays, and this is kind of the same thing, but there's not that many, so you kind of see how each one reacts. So how does the blue take in the gray? The gray is pretty neutral, and this blue-gray is definitely blue-gray. The only way to describe it. It's really cute color, really nice color. And this, by doing the brushes on brush, you really just get that bright color without watering it down. But even when you add water on the darker colors, it adds to it. It doesn't really draw out a lot of the colors yet. So now I'm going to go back into my back with my lightest gray, and we're going to pull not all the way into the dark gray the gray that was there, but just into the edge of the blue gray, just like with Copics, and just spreading that out. Bigger area, so since this is not as well textured, the paper isn't as textured as it could be. You really see that I don't get a lot of skipping. So you can see there that even though I was with my light gray, because I went into the blue-gray and the gray, it actually brought some of that out, which is what you want. So then you can do a little more blending in that respect, getting those highlights and dark lights in, low lights they are. Yeah. So if there's an area that you want to keep pretty pure in that color, go back to it last. So like this section, I want to keep that gray pretty pure. So what I do is that I go ahead and wipe off the excess color on my gray, and then I go back in, and now it's much lighter gray. It's the original light gray color that you want. So that way you can kind of keep it pure, and then when you want it to blend the other colors, then you just go back into it, and then just always wipe off the excess. Aww. I think it looks a little dirty. I think I'm going to go back in and add a little more of the blue-gray. This looks a little dirty to me. And it's just the different ways that I'm recording. Okay, have fun. So now I'm going to go back in more with the blue-gray. Deepen up those shadows, bring out more of that blue color. A little bit more. So far I'm really liking it. I think it's so cute. And then as this dries, I'll have different kind of properties too. And then like most watercolors, that as it dries, you're going to get hard lines. And when you do that, if you just activate a little bit of water on it, you can smooth that out. So, because the grays, the light gray and the blue gray, have different kind of properties here, I'm going to pull in a lot more of that blue gray with the light gray. Excess. Okay, so the kitty is asleep and he is done. Just a little black nose. That's a deep blue. Black. Dark gray will do. So there he is. I think it came out really cute. For the fishy, we're going to do my favorite kind of yellow blends. It is 50, which is yellow, 52 bright yellow, and then we can add in a 67, which is mustard. So it's like brown. Again, I will start with the dark color. This time I'm going to have the light still up atop, but we're going to go left. That way it's shining this way on each one. I'll do the top one with blending with marker to marker, and then the bottom one we will use the water pen on. So I just go in like kind of things, you know, how we're used to. I go in with the dark color, and now we go in with the bright yellow. And this one, I want the regular yellow to be central, so I actually want the bright yellow just to be a little bit. This is a round surface, we're going to go a little bit on the edge there. And then now we're going to bring into the middle, starting from the dark, the yellow. I'm going to leave some area that I'm going to clean my marker off to get the excess colors off. So then I'll go back to that pure yellow for that middle. You can do it on there or on the paper, doesn't matter. And now I want to deepen those shadows, so I'm going to go back in with mustard. And deepen the shadows. And just so quick to color up like this. I love it. Blend out this bit. Just a bit. And then I won't go in as far with the bright yellows now. Okay, so I went farther than I wanted to, but okay, so now we are going to do the second one with the water pen. So first I am going to go ahead and, well, I meant to use mustard, so we'll go back to that. We'll go to mustard. And you just want to be able to pull those colors out. You want to keep them as far back as you can, so don't go too close in, and that's kind of my problem. I'm just learning how to watercolor in that respect. And then to go to the edge, just a little bit longer, a little bit farther than what they had, And it's because I want to pull the yellow into the middle with watercolor pen. So I want that to be most visible, and I have a little excess there. I'll go ahead and make sure there's water in the water pen. Okay, and now I just fold it in. And it just pulled that right in, and it just smoothed that out. So, two different ways that you can see on that. It really depends on what kind of effect that you're going for. The reason why the top one is so much darker is that even though the yellow is bright, it's still a rich tone, and it pulled in a lot of the bright yellow, so it's darker in that respect. So if you want to get the traditional watercolor look of this, you can, and you just use a watercolor pen or just water with a brush. So now we're going to go ahead and quickly stamp Fall Friends. Now as the kitty is drying, I'm really liking the texture that's going on there. I mean, and that's one thing that when you're going for watercolor, even with the ZIGs, it's not going to be completely smooth, and you don't want it to be. At least, I don't think this is the right medium if you want it completely smooth. You want a little texture. Okay, not the best on that, but that's okay. So, my favorite combination for skin, and I use this with the watercolor pen, is I use 72 beige, 64 oatmeal, and 71 flesh. Just those three colors. And pretty much like the second fish, that's pretty much what I do here. So, and if I want her skin darker, then I don't use water. I just use brush blending. But if I want her to have the white kind of highlights, then I definitely use a detailed water brush with not a lot of water. So, similar to that we've seen, of course, you want to go into your dark areas and put down some color first there. I don't want to deepen her nose just yet, but let that go. Now I'm going to go to oatmeal. The first one I used was beige. Oatmeal just to bring it out a little bit. And then, oops, over our hand. And then we have flesh. And I believe flesh is definitely one that if it doesn't come in the pack that you're going to get, buy it singly if you're going to plan to do actual character images. I think in this respect, we're just going to use the markers. I really like the way that looks, but I want to go ahead and deepen it more. So I want, first I'll go back in with the beige, and now that it's wet, it's going to act a little bit differently. It's going to spread. That's for one, so you don't have to, you don't have to put as much down. And for once, I actually have a light hand on this stuff. The problem that you have when it spreads is the nose. That's really the one where you want that pretty crisp. So I won't go back over that because I want, if it does any spreading, I want it to be minuscule. So looks kind of interesting when it's just like that, but that's when you bring in your flesh color and you want to go into the colors, both the oatmeal and deep into the beige as well, and bring all that color out and blend it so that each one gets the property of it, and then you get these really nice kind of gradient medium colors that they just automatically do. Okay, now I'm specifically going over this and it's too dark. It is just way too dark. And what I do, take your trusty little paper towel, take your detail brush and put a little water where you want to highlight, and then dab off the water with your paper towel. And you get that highlight just where you need it to be. And then if I need to, I can go back in. Too much got into her eye, so we're going to take that off. So again, you know, this is really, really forgiving. And there's different kind of colors that you can introduce here that if you wanted a little more, you can have a deep brown, but I really like these three kind of colors. They work really well and still give that. And the reason why she looks the way that she does, kind of like not brownish, is because of oatmeal. So if you want to introduce another dark color like a regular brown, you can do that. Right now I'm just deepening just a little bit of the colors, just a tiny bit more, and just dabbing. So just a tiny little dab. And you can keep going at this for a little while. But I'm definitely happy with it. Another thing, while it is wet, you want to take like a light carmine and do her cheeks while it's wet, because then it will kind of do it, you know, it will push itself around too. But if it's a little dry, you can go back in and you can move that around with the flesh. And just remember to clean off that carmine red. So that was a little basic introduction to these ZIGs and a little coloring for face. That will start, it will stop spreading soon, and then it will start kind of, the edges will dry up, and then it'll be kind of nice with a nice little watercolor texture on it, but still quite passable. And then you can just finish coloring the rest, which when you're using a really thin watercolor brush, you can easily get the hair. But yeah, this is basic. So this is